This episode of Checking In With is sponsored by Pizza Packet. Enjoyed by millions nationwide, Pizza Packet provides portion-controlled, pre-packaged spice and Parmesan packets. Made with only premium quality ingredients, Pizza Packet is the most convenient and most cost-effective way to provide added value to your customers. During these challenging times, every penny counts. Pizza Packet saves you time and money and is a much more hygienic and sanitary option over dirty shakers. Check out pizzapacket.com for all of your packaging needs.
Hey guys, welcome to Checking In With. I'm your host, Jeremy White, Editor-in-Chief of Pizza Today magazine. I'm here with Executive Editor Denise Greer.
Hello.
Hey Denise, and we are here with Nick Bogacz, the owner of Caliente Pizza Draft House in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Hey guys.
Nick, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, hey, a few weeks ago, we did a little webinar and we talked about the COVID-19 pandemic and how that was impacting your business. What's changed in the last few weeks?
I think the fear has settled some. I think that's probably the biggest difference. The first 3 weeks seemed like there was so much fear that it really drove the sales down. I think for the ones that shifted to the no contact delivery early and the curbside pickup early, probably you're seeing the most benefits right now. But I think you're seeing the other big restaurants trying to chase the pizza industry right now, and they're rushed to deliver product. But what they're finding out is pizza delivers the best out of all the foods. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, you had to feel like you were well positioned as compared to other segments of the restaurant business, just because the pizza segment does have the experience with substantial carry-out sales and, of course, delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I always thought that for years, I always thought that pizza was recession-proof. And the first couple of weeks, I was starting to wonder if that was really true. But I think it's really held up to it. I think it really has. And I think it's made a big difference that we have a product like pizza and we're able to deliver it fast. And it's, in this time of crisis, families just want a slice of normalcy, and pizza can give that to them.
Now with your operation, have you been able to, now that things have settled down, have you been able to really streamline, and is it feeling kind of normal with an unnormal circumstances, I should say?
I think so. I think the biggest thing that we've seen, and I think that a lot of restaurants are seeing in general, is the Friday night rush is busier than any rush that we've ever seen. It's almost like Super Bowl Sunday every single Friday from 3:30 till about 8 o'clock. And it's just, it's very, very intense. And I think that was the biggest thing for us to get used to was how do we staff for Friday night dinner rush? How do you bring everybody in? How do you keep everybody safe? We were lucky enough with the two different areas, the bars and the takeout rooms, that we kind of split. Hey, we'll put 3 people answering phones at the bar. We'll put 3 people answering phones in the takeout rooms, and we kind of split people up. But, we definitely were able to bring back some bartenders for order takers and stuff like that. And their tips have been very, very well for takeout. So I think they're actually happy to come in and make some money as well.
Now, is it
Nick,
different between the locations? Sorry, Jeremy.
No,
is
you're
it different
good.
between the locations? Is it, or is each location kind of its own deal?
Well, each location, for the most part, operates differently when everything is normal. They definitely have their niches, but these Friday night dinner rushes have been in all the stores. Even the city store that usually doesn't have a dinner rush and then gets hit, with that late night crowd all the way till close. It's shifted to an early dinner, and we're just getting blasted on Friday nights for dinner. It starts early, 3:30, 4 o'clock. The phones start coming in, and it's everything you can do to handle it.
What do the other nights of the week look like?
They're good. It's all dinner. It's like in early fall when the daylight savings kicks in and your dinner rush starts to start earlier because it got dark. Mm-hmm. It seems like people are just waiting around all day long to order a meal. So it starts early. So we're getting dinner rushes, from 4:30 to like about 7:30, and it's coming in pretty heavy. So we definitely have been fortunate enough that we're able to handle it, and we had enough staff that we could bring in to help us. We're doing more food sales than normal, but we're missing the bar part of the of the equation. So it's interesting. It's like the guys, I'm sure, feel like they're working harder because they're making more food, but at the same time, we're missing the 35% or so from the bar sales. So it's interesting, how the flow is evened out.
Are you having any difficulty getting product to keep up with the demand?
We haven't. We've heard rumors of that there was going to be a yeast shortage, and so we hoarded yeast. All our stores ordered all kinds of cases of yeast. So I don't know. My guys kind of made fun of me for telling them to go out and order as much yeast as they could, but that was really the only thing. We keep hearing about meat, but we have a distributor we use that actually grounds their own meat and has their own butcher shop on hand. So they're telling us we'll be fine. We've been in contact with the distributors a lot. Probably, we usually are a good bit, but probably more than normal. And especially talking about the cheese prices, I think it's a good time to hold your distributor to an honest cheese price too, because the cheese prices are going down. And I think unless you're really calling and asking about that, it sounds like I would think they could just maybe take care of the squeaky wheels and not everybody. I think you have to be holding your distributor honest about the cheese prices because they are dropping, week after week.
Oh, wow. Now your beer program in the last video, you were talking about how, you had all these kegs and you really needed to get some sales up with your beer to go. Has that improved on your sales programs with your beer?
It has. We sell a growler beer anywhere from, we have 3 different platforms, like $20, $25, and $30. And then we sell the glass for $5. We did a daily list of 10 to 14 beers for $19 with the glass growler. And growlers usually last us about at least a year. And we ordered them about 6 months ago, and we just had to place another order for growlers. So
wow.
That was a good problem. So we've been selling growlers like crazy. And takeout beer has been really, really good for us too. And they're just talking about our state passing the cocktails to go too. I guess it got signed in some sort of legislation. It's sitting on the governor's desk. So who knows if we'll be able to sell cocktails to go or not, but that would be good. I think our date is May 8th. They're talking about opening the state back up, but restaurants, I think, have a harder road than May 8th. And I also, we're in one of the counties that's been hit hard. So we're the first ones to get all the restrictions, and I'm sure we'll be one of the last ones to remove all the restrictions.
What kind of strategies are you, because I know you're a strategy guy. You're always looking at how you're gonna maneuver things. So as you look at bringing dine-in back, that's gonna look completely different. How are you looking at how you're gonna scale that?
Well, I know in the beginning when this happened, it was March 15th. It was a Sunday night when they canceled dining everywhere in our state. Now, right before that, at 7 o'clock, they had said the mayor came on and said that you could keep dining open if you wanted. So we had a plan that was implemented that we were going to take out every other bar seat and take out half the tables, and then we were going to keep dine-in open. And then an hour and a half later, the governor tweeted and said everything's closed. So, we were thinking that way already. And I think what's been really tough is when you start to think ahead in this whole thing, a lot of times when whatever comes to pass, whatever you were thinking ahead is irrelevant by then because everything shifts so quick. So if you're thinking about should we be wearing masks when the dining opens? I mean, who's to say our dining doesn't open until the middle of June? And by then you might not need masks. So the way I've kind of been reacting to it is waiting till they actually tell us what we need to do from the CDC standpoint, and then we're going to go ahead and do whatever they say. But we definitely are thinking a little bit ahead as far as the tables and limiting people coming in. But I think the biggest thing I can say is I've gone back and forth on I think there's starting to be a debate of when you can open back up for dining. Do you open back up for dining, or do you wait a little bit and then do it in a couple weeks after? I think there are people thinking about that, hey, I'm gonna let everybody else open up first. Well, we're gonna wait till they remove some of these restrictions to open up. And I kind of have this feeling that you want to be one of the first ones to open up. I think that you want to capitalize on that initial rush. Not everybody's gonna rush out to eat, but there will be people, you can see from your personal Facebook, there's people that still think this is a whole hoax. So they'll be the ones rushing out to the restaurants. And I think you want to capitalize on that.
Right. Nick, what percentage of your employees are you able to give some steady work to at the moment?
So we have right around 200 employees, and we have about 75 on furlough.
Okay.
So we have a good bit. We really do. We've had a few. It's been really hard too. We've had a few that could have worked, but they were either had some health restrictions or they had small kids at home, and they just chose not to work. There was a good bit of that too, and especially as this rolled on, like week 2, 3, 4, there was even more of that. You know, they worked the first couple weeks, and then they just got so scared that they decided not to work. So, you know, I reassured everybody, like, look, like if you take off, you still have a job. You can definitely come back. It's not that, you know, we even had a general manager who took some time off, took a furlough and said, hey, I'm going to come back when this is, you know, over or better. And he had some medical conditions. And I think it's important that you look after your guys, you know, and I assured him numerous times, like, hey, your position's still here. Your pay is the same. You know, you got to do what's right for you and your family. And I'd rather have the guy back than, you know, God forbid, get sick and something really terrible happened to him.
Sure. I was curious if any of your employees said, look, I'm just flat out scared to work right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have. And like I said, it wasn't all at once. It wasn't like March 15th and people were like, I'm scared, I'm not working. It was more like April 10th, you know, April 15th, as the thing just kept rolling on. It was, especially when they started to announce like, hey, the next 2 weeks are going to be the high point of it. There was definitely people then that were like, hey, I don't want to work. And, you know, we respect that. I think there are people who wanted to work, and, you know, we were able to accommodate them, and the ones that weren't able to work, we were able to accommodate them too.
Sure. How has your marketing plan changed during this time? Are you still aggressively marketing that you're open for business and that you're doing carry out and delivery, or did you kind of pull back on the marketing to try to slow down your opportunities right now as you figure all this out? What's been the game plan there?
Sure. I think in the beginning, there was definitely the knee-jerk reaction to say we shouldn't take advantage of this. We should, you know, not be aggressive because we're in a pandemic. We should be mindful. Definitely all those thoughts went through my head in the beginning. But then there was the underlying thing that kept going through my head is like, hey, I'm responsible for all these people that work for me. And, you know, I got to make sure the ones that are furloughed, that when they come back, they're not coming in like, boy, like we're dead. We died. Like, it's so hard to build a business that you don't want to go backwards. So I said, you know what, full steam ahead. We've got to do not just our normal marketing, but we actually doubled down. We do about $500 a week on Facebook advertising. We took it to 1,000. We threw up some extra billboards. We threw up, I had some radio advertising in the bank, and like I have some that like I just have. So I called up the radio stations, had them full steam ahead. I was working with my graphic artist nonstop the first 3 weeks of putting together some ideas and putting them out there. Then we're actually, for Mother's Day, we're going to do a heart-shaped pizza and a bouquet of flowers for $24. So we thought that was a good way to, you know, a lot of places aren't going to be open for Mother's Day still. So we doubled down. We said, you know what, this is the time that we just have to be out there and be heard. And we've done a ton of video. I think that's been, you know, we always do a good bit of video, but we did a lot of video for this. And we thought that was really important. And I've been given like a weekly, almost like a public service announcement where I go on live and just say what we've done for the week and how we're doing the CDC stuff, and then what kind of specials we might be having. So I think that was kind of been a really good thing too. And yeah, we're just trying to stay ahead of it really, and not be afraid and not feel guilty about it. And I don't think we've gotten any negative pushback from the public on it. It's been back and forth. I think the employees are just, you know, making sure that as we get busier, we have enough employees to handle everything too. That's been the key. But we've been able to, you know, of those 75 that I said were furloughed, we probably had about 100 when March 15th. So we were able to bring back at least 25 by getting busier and needing people to answer phones and stuff like that. So
that's great. Going back to your marketing campaign, that's fantastic to hear that you've doubled that. It's unexpected, and I'm actually really glad to hear that. I think it's really brilliant. Did you have to change your messaging in any way when you
Well,
doubled down and put out more advertising? Did you also change your message, or did you just stick with the status quo?
well, a little bit of both, I guess. So there's always the, you know, the same message. I think sometimes, you know, you're putting the same message out there all the time. And I think sometimes you almost hope for a new message, you know, whether it's a new menu or some kind of event coming up, you want something new to promote. And that's where like the guilty feeling had to go away that, hey, you know, I'm not gonna be afraid to promote that we're in the middle of a pandemic, but people need to know that they can come and get curbside pickup and we'll bring it right out to you. And we're going to wear gloves and we've got masks on. And like, people want to know that right now. So I think if you tell them that, you're ahead of the game. And if you're doing the no contact delivery, I think you got to do it right. You got to tell your drivers like, hey, this is the way it's going to be. We have to make sure we're doing no contact delivery. You're wearing a mask to the door. You know, you're wearing gloves. Like, when we promote all that. And I think we bought a ton of pens with our names on it, and we were handing those out and letting them keep them. I think there were things that we were just trying to definitely be ahead of it, but our message definitely got changed towards the pandemic. And then we were lucky enough, it was kind of ironic. Our new menu, we always launch either late February or early March every year. And we start working on it in December, and it was slated for March 21st. So by the time this all rolled around, we were in the middle of launching a new menu, you know, a week after the pandemic. And we had a very quick conversation of, do we delay it, or do we do the new menu? And with the new menu, there's price increases every year. So it's like, we don't want to be looked at that we're gouging people, but boy, we've been planning this for 4 months. But we really decided, we said, hey, it's almost like a freight train's moving in action already, because we had direct mail and menus that were already printed. So we just rolled with it. So on top of all the pandemic marketing that we were doing, we were able to cross promote it with the new menu and all the new menu items. And it was a perfect mix.
Wow, that's brilliant. Now I know that you, in the midst of, you know, you being crazy busy with your restaurants, you've actually spent a lot of time as well helping out other operators. I mean, I see you all over the place just giving folks advice, you know, during this time. What do you, what's the biggest takeaway that you hope that operators can get right now from what's happening, and what kind of advice do you have for them as they're going through this?
Yeah, I think it's tough. And I think anytime you go through anything like this, everybody's in a different state of mind, because everyone's in a different position, you know, financially, emotionally, and it's just really tough. And I think really what I've tried to do is just have a strong mindset. And I think that's what I've tried to share with everybody is, you know, when you're going through this, you have to think positive, because there's going to be something good that comes out of it. And I think what we're seeing is, you know, back when I gave the keynote in October, at the very end, you know, my forecast on what I thought was going to happen with the future of the pizza industry was, I said, you're going to need more tables, and you're going to need less delivery drivers, you know, because the third party was eating us alive. But I think what's shifted is, you know, we're going back to pizza delivery. Like, people want pizza delivery again. And even the third party, I think, it's been ironic that the media has really started to get on these third-party deliveries for the fees they charge restaurants. Also for them not being as safe as a local restaurant as far as wearing masks and gloves. And I think that's all kind of been a blessing. But I think what I'm trying to share with, you know, any operator is definitely that to keep the positive mindset. And I also think I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out the PPP loan and how it works. So I think I've done a good job of that, being able to discuss that in detail of how it works. So I think that's been a source where I've been able to share too. But I think it's just you got to be out there, and you got to be able to adapt. You know, it's not so much pivot and shift like you hear everybody, but it's more adapting. I think that's what's important, because my guess is when you look back in history 10 years from now, you're not going to say this thing only lasted, you know, 45 days in quarantine or 60 days in quarantine. I really feel like you might say, you know, this was 2 years of struggle, especially in the restaurant business, you know, that it was up and down, and who's to say it doesn't come back twice as hard in October and November. Like, nobody really knows. That's the thing. Just because they're going to open things back up doesn't mean it's over. And I think that's where you have to have that positive mindset that no matter what, you're going to get through this.
Yeah, Nick, I think you hit that on the head. Until a proven vaccine is developed, that just like the flu comes back every November, we run the risk of things getting better in the heat of summer, and then November, December flu season, maybe it comes back. Maybe we have another round of this until we can have a proven vaccine that eradicates it. So I think you're right. We may be in for this being the new normal for quite a while, and operators need to plan accordingly.
Absolutely. And that's why I think there was operators going back and forth on, do they try to get a PPP loan? Do they, when they get it after 8 weeks, do they pay back what they owe? My thought was at least hold it till the 6-month deferment payment, but maybe hold it the whole 2 years, because, if this happens again where they close down businesses, like, you don't know, you might really need to have a line of credit or have some funds you can draw on, especially for 1%. So I think, there's a lot of things to think about that, definitely financially, but I think just you just got to make sure that you're in the right mindset. I've done a lot of things of going back and reading some of my favorite books and going back and listing my favorite programs and trying to make sure that my mind's in the right spot, as we go through this. I thought that was really important.
Right. And you mentioned the PPP, meaning the Payroll Protection Program. That was
Right.
a loan program backed by the Small Business Administration. You go through your lender. They underwrite the loan. If you are approved and receive the loan, no payments for 6 months, or it can be deferred out to 2 years, like you said, at 1% interest. But there were also some stipulations that if you used it as intended for your payroll, that it can be forgiven, correct?
Yes. So if you use it for payroll, rent, or mortgage interest, and utilities for 8 weeks, it can be forgiven. It's still free flowing. So it's really still out there on how it's going to be forgiven, but they're coming out with those guidelines. They were more worried about getting the money in the hands of the small businesses.
Right.
We did not get approved on the first round, but we did get approval on the second round just this week. So I think, that's the other thing. A lot of people were having a hard time getting it. And it seemed like the first time around, the big banks, if you had a big bank, you could get it. And the second time around, it seems like if you're with a smaller bank, you have a better chance of getting it. So it'll be interesting if there's still operators that are left out in the cold once the money runs out in the next week or two. But the forgiveness will definitely be a big part of it. It sounds like as long as you don't take the money and do something crazy with it, that's as long as you do what you're supposed to with it, it sounds like at least a good portion of it's going to be forgiven, which is a big plus.
Absolutely. And in the event that you're in a situation where you do have to pay it back, 1% interest, you can't ask for much better than that.
Yeah. The only thing to keep in mind too is, it's going to be a 2-year loan. So, if you're taking out a good chunk for payroll and you have to pay it back, if you use it wrong and then you end up having to pay it back, the whole thing, it's going to be big payments every month too. So, there could be some dangers of not using it the right way, but I think with anything like with government money or government programs, you just got to use them the right way, because they will come back to haunt you if not.
Yeah, absolutely. But use it as intended. It was intended. I believe that 25% of it can be used for non-payroll expenses, as you mentioned, mortgage, interest, utilities, things like that. So if you use it in that regard, and if you use the remaining 75% for your payroll cost, you should be in really good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a big help like it was intended to.
Yeah. I know you mentioned third parties earlier as well, and I was going to touch upon that. I'm glad you brought that up. Are you seeing an increase in orders to third parties right now, or are you seeing a decrease, or is it just holding the same?
Well, I think I'm always in the other camp. I think with the third parties, I think the majority of the pizza operators, they try not to use them, or they absolutely despise them. I look at it like, if you're going to order dinner that night, it's not like someone's going to say, when they say, hey, what do you want for dinner? I think they say, we're going to order Uber Eats, or we're going to order DoorDash. And if you're not on there, you don't have a chance of getting ordered from. That's just my thought, So we've always been on there. We do a good bit of business with them. It's stayed about the same, which is we do a lot of business with them. We really do. And, you know, we probably get 10% of our sales a week from third parties, if not closer to 15%. So what I did in the last 6 months was I renegotiated my deals and got my payments down, because originally Uber Eats was the big one in our area. And then DoorDash recently has been able to come in and make a dent in their business. So they had a competitor. So I was able to put those against each other and get a lower cut of what they take. But
nice.
yeah, we've definitely seen, you know, about the same. I mean, they've been, it hasn't gone up that much, but it definitely did not go down.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Sure. Denise, do you have anything else for Nick before we let him go about his day?
You know what? We covered everything. I was
Covered a
taking
lot.
notes from your previous video, and man, you just hit on everything that you were talking about before, and a lot of new information that I think a lot of operators are going to have a lot of takeaways from.
Good. I think one last thing that I'll add, you know, is the employees during all this. I think one thing that I made sure that I did was stay in constant contact with them, because I think it's important. The last thing you want to do is, you know, not contact them through this whole thing, the ones that are furloughed, and then at the end, you know, call them up for their job. You know, people are talking about, well, what if they don't want to come back because they're still on unemployment? How horrible would it be that you didn't talk to somebody for 8 weeks, and when you call them up, they say they got another job? I mean, if you're not talking to them, that you're setting yourself up for failure. So we've been in constant contact. If I'm not reaching out, I have the managers reaching out to their team, and at least every other week, and calling them and saying, you know, talking to them, making sure, see what they need, see how they're doing. The ones who are working for us right now, I mean, they're going through, you know, this is very, very difficult and stressful. So we've been mindful to that. We've done a couple rounds of giving everybody who works for us, the whole company, $50 worth of food for free to feed their family. Hey, just come in this week and grab up to $50 worth of food for your family. We did that twice. So we're just trying to keep, you know, hey, we didn't forget about you, sending that out there, you know. And I think it's really important that you're reaching out to your employees during this whole time.
Yeah. Now you have some really creative kitchen folks, like you're pizza makers. I mean, you guys are award winning, you know. How are you keeping them kind of energized and motivated in the kitchen right now?
Well, I think my guys really like a challenge. You know, maybe they won't admit it at first, but they really do. You know, I kind of threw it down at the beginning. And hey, we've got to make sure we watch the costs. You know, this is really important. We can't have a week where we blow labor or we blow food costs. Like, we've got to make sure we're doing everything right. And the challenge of those Friday night dinners. And I think their competitive spirit for making some really unique pizzas has definitely been taken over by the challenges of running the business very tight and cost effective. And they've been doing a great job with that. They were, you know, it was really hard. And I'm sure, like everybody, saw Pizza Expo being moved, and then when it went to June, you know, they were like, well, there's the only thing we were looking forward to, canceled. And I said, well, you know, maybe we'll make an exception and figure out, you know, usually we don't take the GMs to Atlantic City. I said, but maybe we'll slide them to Atlantic City this year too, or something, you know, thinking about taking care of those guys down the road too. But it's like just trying to keep them motivated. And I think that's what we've been trying to do is, you know, making sure that we're out there touching them and talking to them and making sure they know what's going on. But my management team is really, I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. I tell them every week when we're on the phone that they are the reason we're doing so well right now. And it's just, they're really embracing it. And they've been through a lot. You know, this management team I have from Atlantic City, we got a picture of like 22 guys. One of them is not in the picture anymore. And that was a personal decision. He moved. So, you know, we've got 21 people. We probably have 30 managers, 35 managers. I think about 32 of them have been with us for more than a year. Wow. So it's like, you know, these guys have been through ups and downs. They were there when we were super busy last year after coming back from Italy with the big win. I mean, our sales were up like 40%. So they went through super busy. They were through some bad media a year and a half ago when, you know, the bottom fell out, and they knew how to pull the cost back from that. So I think those combinations right now, I mean, they just they're battle tested, and they've really been proving that.
Good stuff, Nick. You know, it's a testament to your leadership,
Thank
which you did a great job in Atlantic City last year with that keynote address. A lot of people, myself included, learned a lot of things about you that we didn't know, and that's a testament to your leadership that you were able to put together such a strong team, and that team can now help carry you through these trying times. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And as always, buddy, pleasure talking to you. Good stuff. I really want to thank you for taking the time to help educate your peers out there in the industry who need the type of insights that you can provide. So thank you very much.
Yeah, glad to do it. Yeah, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a great afternoon.